and welcome to this episode of Three Questions. I'm Greg Michlig, President and CEO at CUInsight.com. And it's great to be joined by Sam Brownell, founder and CEO at CUCollaborate. Sam, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. Pleased to have CU Collaborate as a CU Insight partner. And I'm sure everyone's anxious to hear your insights on these topics. So let's dive in with this first one. Uh, Credit unions are sitting on more data than ever. So why does so little of it actually get used?
I think it is a combination of things, time and probably expertise. So probably not the story that every credit union CEO wants to hear, but I remember, what was it? Probably like 15 years ago when I was cold calling credit union CEOs to try and talk to them about what Callahan and Associates was doing. And I was persistent but polite. And I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, I really actually wanted to talk to you about this, but I just lack the time in the day to follow up. And I think that many credit unions are spending correctly the majority of their time running their credit union and solving members' issues and leveraging data and driving insights is takes time to do it well, and many credit unions lack the resources to um, leverage it to its fullest potential.
Yeah. And it's just an ongoing story, right? Because I've made those same types of calls, and it's been that way for, for decades probably. But so with that being the case, if the barrier is time and expertise, what changes that?
Well, I would hope certainly and believe CUSOs like ours, where we can effectively do a combination of things, but have the expertise and sort of providing that in some way, sort of like on a fractional basis, and also building the infrastructure and what we borrow it from another company, but would refer to as like a compound product strategy. So, if one credit union asks us to build a predictive model or build a report or do anything like that, we build it as something that is reusable by all credit unions. So then that, investment by one credit union then becomes a tool that many other credit unions can leverage. And it's indirectly ultimately sort of like shared resourcing across credit unions.
That's got to be helpful just to get the shared information too, because I'm wondering, when a single credit union can really only learn so much from its own numbers, how do they get a wider view?
Well, that is a definite additional part of what we're doing. So we have built a data consortium, is what we call it, but basically like pool together aggregate anonymized data across hundreds of credit unions, that then can provide insights that even if a credit union did have all the resources in the world, but we're only looking at internal data, answer questions that they wouldn't be able to ever answer with their own internal data. So credit unions are collaborative. Quite frankly, even though they have a lot of data and a lot of data that could help them make better decisions, even just internally, success in financial services is very reliant on data-driven decision making and operations. And comparatively, credit unions are at a disadvantage compared to much larger banks, but even, a medium-sized bank is larger than some of the largest credit unions. And so data is a big competitive advantage, and pooling together data levels the playing field and actually gives credit unions an advantage in a way that any one individual bank wouldn't have, which is the, granted anonymized, but learnings from essentially the natural experiments that hundreds of other credit unions have done. So a good example of this is we have like a was that where we were asked to build a dashboard around ideal deposit pricing and seeing what the most effective pricing strategies were for CDs of different terms in generating net new deposits, and where the sort of like ideal price point was to make sure you weren't just sort of like cannibalizing your own accounts and just increasing your cost of funds, but also not overpaying for driving um, your targeted deposit growth or share growth. And the only way that's really possible is by looking at the experience of, yeah, all the other credit unions and what they have seen in the past week, month, quarter.
It's a great example, and it's right there in your name, right? Collaborate, collaboration, bringing all of that together, and the ideals of the cooperative system and everything, and seeing that shine through in different ways, and especially in the data environment that you're talking about is really impactful. So I appreciate you sharing that information, sharing that example, Sam, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me on this three questions video interview.
Thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate it.
All right. And thank you to everyone who tuned in as well. We'll see you next time.